All right, as you're gathering in, Peter is gonna play us into this session with some music. It's actually the third plenary session. To be correct, we don't have a secretary yet here, but Peter's playing, so we're good. Hello there, Pastor Justin.
How are you?
Great. Have you met Nick? Well, then it's time.
Justin Negebauer.
He will keep me on the straight and narrow.
Perfect.
You just know what you're doing,
Just
and
need to
I'll
read
just
and then
kind
I'll
of
step away.
fluff it off.
Perfect. Perfect.
How's that?
That's perfect.
So once Peter is... Oh, no, we need credentials.
Credentials are
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
you're not. I
do not.
Where is your credentials?
Hey, little girl of mine, sure they're making my eyes to shine. Gave the sun a run for the money and made the pale moon shine. Ooh, you set my heart ablaze. You're my song for the morning, song for my dying day. Well, it's been a wild old friend. I thought these days would never end. Caused a lot of trouble, got paid back double, but it sure do make me grin. Ooh, so lucky you came my way. You're my song for the morning, song for my dying day. Well, there were roses, there were thorns. These days, bitter endings, and we're born to grow. Where we go, I bet you wanna know. La 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 la. So lucky you came my way. You're my song for the morning, song for my dying. Hey, dear heart of mine, you grew up for my Valentine. You leaped, you broke, you sleep, you woke, got drunk on life's fine wine. Ooh, I'm still singing what I can't say. You're my song for the morning, song for my dying, song I'll be living all the way, every day, till my dying day. La 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 la. Still lucky you came my way. You're my song for the morning, song for my dying day.
Thank you, Peter. All right, there's still a lot of people out there, but you know what? They don't have the same fun because you get to vote here in a minute. So, yeah, I know, but we do have a credentials report, and then we move right into the presentation of the resolution. So, there we go. Bob.
Credentials report, May 31st, 2024, 114. Lay female voting members, 144. Lay male voting members, 95. Lay declined to state voting members, 1. Total lay voting members, 240. Total voting members, 354.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Pastor Justin Negebauer was elected to serve this year as the chair of the Resolutions Committee, and so we are Going to tackle our first resolution, resolution number 14 for this afternoon. Resolution to adopt certain resolutions en bloc, sourced from the Resolutions Committee. Resolved, except for resolutions removed from en bloc to separate consideration to adopt. Number 1, resolution to adopt amendments to the Constitution of the South Dakota Synod. Number 2, continuing resolution for identifying potential nominees for bishop. Number 3, continuing resolution for the election of a bishop. Number 4, elect 2025 ELCA Churchwide Assembly voting members. Number 5, transfer of conferences for Emmanuel Lutheran Church Canova. And number 11, elect South Dakota Synod Council members. And it comes to you today as a due pass.
All right, thank you. Since it comes with a due pass, it doesn't need a second. No. All in, can we vote by voice so we just move to the food trucks? You can. All right, great, thank you. Am I a parliamentarian? He is just right on the ball. So, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Well, very good, that passed. Yeah, we can't clap. That makes my new DEM very upset. He's like big on Robert's rule. Thanks, Jill. So there. Okay, which gets us to Jill, because she is the secretary appointed because the last secretary resigned to take the position as the DEM. You win some, you lose some, you know. So Jill Beers from Our Saviors in Waubay was appointed by the Synod Council to the position after he resigned. And are there any other nominations from the floor for the position of secretary? This is your chance. All right. Hearing none, I will declare nominations closed. And all in favor in electing Jill, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Guess you're it. Congratulations, Jill. Well, that was easy. And now, Dennis Thompson, your esteemed vice president from the other side of our beautiful state, Calvary Lutheran in Rapid. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. I have two things that I want to mention. First, last August, since the first time since before COVID, the Synod Vice Presidents met in person. I attended, but didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I would learn that we could apply to the South Dakota Synod. You know the saying, there are 65 synods. When you've seen one synod, you've seen one synod. In the details, there are many differences between the synods, but I was surprised to learn how much we have in common. Each of the synods seemed to face the same issues, such as finding rostered leaders for congregations, how to identify and educate lay leaders to serve congregations, and shortfalls in mission plans. So the synods are connected, not only by their mission, but by the challenges that they face. I am proud that through the leadership of the bishop, her staff, and the Synod Council, the South Dakota Synod is taking proactive steps to address these challenges, make it a little bit better, right? Thank you to the individuals and congregations of the Synod for the support that allow this to happen. Second, the 2025 Synod Assembly will be held on May 30th and 31st here at Our Savior's Lutheran. It is a bishop election year. Electing a bishop is one of the most important responsibilities in the life of a synod and a key responsibility of the Synod Assembly. It involves discernment from both the potential nominees and the synod as a whole. As a reminder, and in preparation for the bishop election, this is a summary of the process. The process is governed by the South Dakota Synod Constitution, bylaws, and continuing resolutions. As required by the Constitution, this assembly has just passed the continuing resolutions, number 2 and 3, that detail the bishop election process. According to the South Dakota Synod Constitution and continuing resolutions, the office of bishop is open to any minister of word and sacrament on the roster of the ELCA, Lutheran Church in America. That person may serve 2 consecutive 6-year terms. Our current bishop, Constanza Hagmeyer, has served 1 term and is thus eligible for re-election. A synod study, or the bishop, will be completed by this fall to provide guidance throughout the synod for potential nominees. All conferences will hold their assembly on the same day, that is February 23rd, 2025. At those conference assemblies, voting members will be invited to identify ministers of word and sacrament who have the desired and necessary gifts for the office of bishop. Biographies of the potential nominees are forwarded to the Bishop Election Committee and will be available on the Synod website prior to the assembly. Let me be clear. This pre-identification process at the conference assemblies is not a nomination. The bishop is elected by ecclesiastical ballot. The first ballot is a paper ballot where any voting delegate to the assembly may nominate any ELCA minister of word and sacrament. 3/4 of the legal votes cast on the first ballot are necessary for the election of a bishop. If no election occurs, the first ballot is the nominating ballot. The election then continues with ballots reducing the number of candidates to 7 on the third ballot, with 2/3 to elect, 3 candidates on the fourth ballot, with 60% to elect, and 2 candidates on the 5th ballot with a majority to elect. Before the third ballot and subsequent ballots, the assembly will have the opportunity to hear from the candidates. This is just a quick summary and does not include every detail of the election. The entire process is laid out in the South Dakota Synod Constitution, Chapter 9, which can be found on the Synod website under Congregations and Constitutions. The continuing resolutions, number 2 and number 3, just passed, will be added to the Constitution and control the election. As always, the election of a bishop is an important consideration for our synod. More information will become available as the assembly and election nears. Thank you for your time.
Question. Very good. Question. Would you please move to a micro? Oh, you can't. Okay. I'm sorry, I did not see. Thank you, Pastor Mark. Speaking from microphone 3.
Hi there, my name's Deb Versteg, and I am a member of Our Savior's Lutheran Church. And I have 2 questions. One is, do retired pastors count for possibility, for consideration for bishop? And secondly, do those pastors who are still pastors but do not have a church at present count as well or not?
Those are wonderful questions, and I would say Dennis will answer that.
For your first question, the resolution just passed says that any pastor on the roster of the ELCA, it does not give what status it is, so I cannot say for certain if retired pastors qualify or not, but it says any rostered pastor. Then the other one is if they don't have a church right now, which would make them a status on leave for call or some other status, same answer. They're on the roster, so where's?
Vihar is out there talking.
Vihar. Why does he have a cookie in his hand?
He's not eating a cookie. It's his phone. He's prepping for voting.
Okay. So, Pastor.
Take microphone 3.
So, Pastor Vihar, the question is for the bishop election, do retired pastors, are they qualified? As the second question is, if they are not on call, are they qualified?
Any rostered pastor, so they could be on the roster, active, under call, on retirement. They're all eligible.
Well, I was pretty close. Thank you.
What did you say?
That.
Oh, okay.
Well, you just got to go with the flow, you know. What can I say? Thank you, Dennis. And now to the funnest part of it all, the treasurer's report. Pastor. Now I'm making you a pastor. I'm making the others two a bishop. So there we go, Terry. Have at it.
Thank you. It's 4 o'clock, and you look like numbers people. So, we will shorten this up and keep it brief, but there is, as the bishop will say, there is some business of the church we need to take care of. So, 3 takeaways I want you to come from my short presentation around the finances. 1, we're allocating resources effectively to programming and ministries. 2, my observation last few years is the bishop and our team are making an efficient use of your mission support. And lastly, your synod is financially solid. That didn't, that just didn't happen over 1 term or 2 terms. That takes decades. You have resources in your assembly material. Some of you already looked at it, but the audit report from the end of last year is in your assembly materials under the references. My guess is most of you have read that audit report prior to coming today, okay? Secondly, the business tomorrow, you'll be asked to approve the mission plan for 2025. And again, there's handouts out there, but that is also, it's actually twice in your assembly materials. So again, I'm assuming you've already looked at that mission plan. So there will be a test tomorrow, and you will be asked to vote on the 2025 mission plan, okay? So a little bit of process here. Those of you that were here last year, you approved the 2024 mission plan. At the end of the fiscal year, how this works is we close out the books in January. Then based on congregational letters of intent, your mission support to the synod, then we make some adjustments, if you will, to that budget mission plan that you approved the previous summer. So today, or tomorrow morning actually, we won't do it today, but tomorrow morning you'll approve I hope you'll approve it, the 2025 mission plan. That'll be reviewed again at the end of January. Our fiscal year end is January of each year. Okay, so a little bit on process. I'm going to back up here a little bit on 2023 mission plan, how we did as a team. I'll talk about the 2024 briefly, how that looks, and then I'll go through the 2025 mission plan with you. You'll have a chance over food trucks and things to talk about that, and then tomorrow morning we will vote on that mission plan. So for last year, it was a successful year financially. We achieved our budget. Leadership and staff managed the costs effectively. If you recall, we did an appeal of $1 per congregational member for many of the churches. That generated about a little over $31,000. That was done. There was some additional other income, but that was done to allow us to, with some decline in some other categories, offset that and continue without any cuts to programs. I will say in 2023, our endowment performance was much improved over 2022. If you remember your own investments, 2022 was a challenging year. 23 was much better. The Synod has about $10.7 million in endowment funds. Kathy McHenry's coming up right after me. She'll talk more about some of those things. That performance in those funds has been meeting our goals and objectives that we have set for those funds. We go through an annual audit. Again, you have that in your materials. Spend some time with that. You have all the information. The Synod financially has no debt. It has been very conservative run. Net assets of a little over $14 million, so that also includes the Lilly grant that we talked about earlier. Every year I get asked this, well, you have all those resources, all those dollars, 96%, almost 97% of those dollars are restricted dollars, okay? So the Lilly grant, yes, it's there. It shows up in our assets, and yes, 100% of that is restricted to programming. Same with the endowment fund. Those gifts from donors over the years have grown. Those dollars are, for the most part, are restricted to various programs that they support, okay? All right, 2024 mission plan. So the plan that you approved last year, those of you who were here last year, at the end of January, we made a few adjustments. We forecasted mission support was lowered slightly, about 2.43%. We made no material changes to wages and benefits. We were able to, because of your support, we were able to raise the churchwide mission support from the Synod, from South Dakota, from 41% to 42%. If you recall, a couple years back, we had lowered it a couple percentage points. Coming out of COVID and some things like that, I think there's a real intent or a desire to continue to, if we can, increase that back. So we were able to take that from 41 to 42%. Through April, I'll just say through April, we are tracking. Thank you to your own support, your home congregations. We're tracking just fine to budget. I think you can put up there the 2024 mission plan revisions. They were really not necessarily material, okay? We lowered the mission support slightly, but for the most part, changes were not that large. So 2025 mission plan, this is what you will be asked to vote on tomorrow. And so included in your assembly material, you have this. There's also handouts at the table. The 2025 proposed mission plan is a 2.5% increase in mission support from congregations. There's a little bit of a formula. We take those letters of intent we get from your congregations in January. We make some adjustments, and that's what it's based on. Churchwide mission support level, we'll maintain it at 42%, which is, again, an increase from a couple years ago. Our support to South Dakota Partnership Ministries, those are set at a percentage of our revenue. So it's not a fixed dollar amount, which really for budgeting purposes insulates us from any big swings in revenue. So if our revenue's down, unfortunately those partnerships would get less, but it's based on a fixed percentage of our revenue. Those percentages did not change. Staff and wage benefits up 2.75%. You'll talk more about guidelines a little bit later. Other income, you may have noticed some of our other income categories are up. That has to do with rise in interest rates and what we do with our cash management activities. I hope not. I hope rates don't go up a lot more from where they're at now. So we're not anticipating a big change in those categories. And that is the proposed mission plan. It looks a little bit different up here than what you have. You have a little more detail in your assembly materials there. So, at a very high level, about 93% of the dollars spent are all on programming, staff, ministries, etc. Less than 7% are what I would consider things like insurance and lights and power and office rent, things like that. So I think the staff has done a very good job. They run a very efficient, as you would expect, and have done a good job with the resources available. Okay. Again, your assignment tonight, should you choose, bring the plan out there as you're visiting the food trucks, but take a look at that. We'll vote tomorrow morning and present that. So I will pause because sometimes there are, what questions would you have at 4:16? I'm happy to get into the numbers. Boy, I love it.
Can't wait.
They can't wait. Oh, there's one. Microphone 3, we have a question.
Trinity in Vermillion. It's not a question about the numbers, but I was just trying to find the audit report on
Yes.
the website. Where is that located?
Okay, go to assembly material, go to that. It's in the guidebook. You can all pull it up digitally, and it's under the references. It just says references, and in there there's the whole audit report. Paceline is the local CPA firm that does that. Just for your perspective, we have an independent audit committee that is comprised of, they're kind of a tough bunch. They're practicing CPAs and partners and things. They also work with the CPA firm. So yeah, all that information is available in your guidebook.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. We have a brief greeting from our Family Systems team here in South Dakota.
Hey everybody, I'm Pastor Shadow and I'm here with Pastor Paul.
That was Shadow in the shadows. There.
We would like to chat with you about the family systems theory and the South Dakota Synod.
A new survey shows Americans' anxiety levels experience a sharp increase in the past several years, with almost 40% of the respondents saying they felt more anxious this year than they did a year ago. It has been found that anxiety and fear affect our relationships in family, in the workplace, among our friendships, and yes, even in our churches. Within the emotional field in which we live, this anxiety can be contagious. The emotional field, the group we are a part of, will determine the functioning of the people in it, with the exception that when one member of the system can differentiate themselves, think differently, particularly if they are the leader, or even if they are not the leader, they will become the leader. Then things will change.
When Bishop Elizabeth Eaton became presiding bishop of the ELCA several years ago, she set a goal of having one person trained in each synod to help rostered leaders and congregations come to a more healthy way of being church together. Pastor Paul Johnston, retired pastor, has had that training, and I am receiving that training now. Pastor Paul and I will have a table in the hub during the assembly to visit with you more about systems in the church. And we are presently looking to select and train a resource team made up of 6 lay and 6 clergy, male and female, East River and West River, to help church leaders think more clearly and creatively, to lead and to be effective even in times of anxiety. The team will also work with congregations to think through times of transition, change, or difficulty, and to look at their history as a way of understanding how to move into the future.
If you'd be interested in learning more about this training, come and visit with us at the Hub. We look forward to seeing you there.
Well, they are down with the others, so downstairs. Okay, Lutheran Plan Generosity. I always call her, she's Generous Kathy, and I am the Scroochy Bishop. So that balances us out.
Good afternoon. It's 4:20. It's been a long day, and I'm going to talk numbers for just a minute with you, but these are good numbers that I have to share. So if you're not familiar with Lutheran Plan Generosity, you need to stop down and see me at the table, or you need to make our hub your priority at the Friendship Room here in just a few minutes, and we'll tell you more about it. But today, I want to take you back to a year ago when we celebrated 40 years of planned giving ministry in the Synod. And today I want to tell you that the celebration continues. We're going to talk about another victory in the way that you show up and are some of the most generous people I am blessed to work with for now the beginning of 8 years, which I'm going to celebrate today too. In 1999, the Synod began a program of seminary debt reduction, and in 2001, the first grants were given to our rostered leaders in South Dakota. Fast forward to 2016, when Synod leadership recognized a problem of pastors coming out of seminary with significant debt and how that was affecting their ability to accept calls. And so at the time, we established something through the council called seminary debt refinancing, which is exactly what it sounds like. So from 2017 to 2020, there were 17 pastoral seminary loans refinanced through the Synod. The cumulative initial balance was over $500,000. So it was a real problem. The average beginning loan balance was $32,555 for those pastors. Fast forward to 2020. We paused the seminary debt refinancing program because of several things that were changing in our world. The first of which was the fact that seminary scholarships were available to such a significant extent, praise be to God, that we were not seeing the need for that kind of refinancing. Secondly, the federal government initiated something called public service loan forgiveness for pastors. It had not previously been available to pastors, and so we recognized that it didn't make sense for us to refinance those loans because that made them ineligible for loan forgiveness. So we put a pause and reevaluated everything. I am super excited today to share with you that all of those seminary debts have been retired. That is over $500,000 that is no longer a debt for the pastors that serve this synod. 100% of their payments were applied to principal as they made payments that were based on their income, thanks to the generosity of an anonymous donor who covered all of the interest. But we also made grants ourselves. The impact of those loan payments and those grants reduced their time making payments on those loans from 10 to 14 years in some cases. I don't know about you, but I remember celebrating a time when we paid off a car loan and thinking how that impacted our family. And when you pay off a seminary loan 14 years ahead of time, that's a reason to rejoice. There is more to celebrate today. Our seminary debt reduction awards continue because of the generosity of people who have named the South Dakota Synod as a part of their estate plan. We have over 115 South Dakota pastors who since 2001 have received over 400 grants that go directly to pay for principal on their loans. That is more than $1.2 million that has been awarded to South Dakota pastors. I know that Pastor Renee will tell you that that makes a difference when she calls and says she's inviting someone to accept a call in South Dakota. We are not flyover country. The endowment Terry alluded to is the reason that we're able to do these things for the people who serve in South Dakota. Our endowment in 2024 approaches nearly $11 million. We had a distribution of $428,000 to ministry this year, over and above that mission plan that you will vote on tomorrow. Your generosity makes a difference. And so because of that, our partners at Lutheran Plan Generosity and the South Dakota Synod and the ELCA Foundation want to give you a thank you. I am super excited, and there's a list of them here. We are in partnership as this ministry to announce a new website that went live this morning. This website is in partnership with Free Will, and we are able to give you the opportunity to create your own legal will, trust, powers of attorney for healthcare, for finances, funeral directives, and beneficiary designations, all in your pajamas, on your couch, whenever you'd like to do it. This is at no cost to you. It's our gift to you to say thank you for all the ways that you are generous in so many ways to the missions, the ministry, and the churches of South Dakota. This is easy. And we know that people want to do this in their own time, their own place, and it's all 100% free. I'm going to tell you about it more during our breakout session, so I hope that you will join me if you don't have another place to hang out at the Friendship Room, and bring your tablet. You can actually do a trial run. Congregations, you may also link this site to your own website and direct your congregants to this and make it available to anyone. This is not just for South Dakotans. Share it with your family wherever they are. So I want to say to you, these numbers are big numbers. They did not happen accidentally, and they did not happen overnight. And so if you are considering how you might be generous with the ways that you put your plan together or something today, keep that website close and keep my phone number closer. It always comes through to my cell phone, and wherever I am across the state, I would be honored to take the call and answer any questions and help you with your generosity walk. Thank you very much. Oh, we have a question. I get a question? I'm so excited. Yes. You may not make amendments to a trust on our website, but you can, through your attorney, make an amendment to your personal trust if you have one in place. You can create a new trust on our website, but you may not create an amendment. And I want it for all the attorneys in the room. I have family members. We know that we're not going to replace you. There are people who need to work with an estate planning attorney, and we fully expect and want you to. But you can share this information with them and get the process started. But for those of you that have a little bit more simple estate, this is your answer, and we hope that you'll try it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, because we want to have you go to your hubs, we also will will want you to hear from the Compensation and Guidelines Task Force that was assembled a few years back to keep continuity and consistency. And so Annalise Sefrud has graciously accepted that invitation for many years. And she'll bring greetings and some few words.
I'm the third numbers person in a row between you and the breakouts, and I get to talk HR. That our compensation task force was formed 3 years ago. Instead of rotating around the synod, it is a group made up of members representing the whole synod. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that Bear Butte is vacant right now. So talk to your support to ministry person. We live underneath that committee, but we have a broad range of people from rostered ministers to SAMs, lay people, representing the entire state. So our goals for 2023 into 2024, always the salary tables. And this year we took on SAM guidelines and information, prior experience credit, and the official holiday list. These information, the two sets of guidelines are in your assembly materials with a summary, but today I just want to point out a couple of big things. We're the bridge between pastors and church councils and compensation committees, and we do more than just the compensation, what's the salary. This year we added a glossary of terms just so that everybody knows what we're talking about. What's the difference between a rostered minister of word and sacrament versus word and service? What's a SAM? What's a synod lay minister? So that will live at the beginning of the guideline documents. We had a focus on the SAMs this year, synod authorized minister. 2 serving in our group. You can understand they push their agenda to the top. But SAMs live in this hybrid role. They don't fit either guideline. They're not a fully rostered leader, but they're more than just a lay staff member. And so we wanted to highlight and call them out. So we kind of put them in a couple different places in both guidelines so that they don't get overlooked and missed. Some SAMs just do pulpit supply, Sunday morning service. Others serve as basically a full pastor. One document that we created was an interim ministry wants and needs flowchart, that if you are a congregation in transition, what do you want, what do you need, to kind of guide you through those steps. A major issue we looked at this year was prior career experience credit. Many people are joining the ministry later in life, age 40, age 50, not right out of undergraduate. And we felt there was a place for acknowledging prior experience. So we decided our recommendation is a half-year credit up to 10 years. And the question came up going, I'm 5 years into a call. Sorry, this is kind of intended for at the beginning of a new call. So pastors, newly ordained, or pastors transitioning to a new call, this applies to both. Why kind of the 10-year limit? So that an associate pastor doesn't leapfrog over top of a lead pastor in a multi-point congregation, or not a multi-point, a multi-pastor situation. We represent congregations from my tiny church at Summit. We have a pastor, a very part-time secretary, and a very part-time custodian, to congregations like Our Saviors, who have an extensive staff. So we wanted to address that, and half credit up to 10 years is what we're recommending. Synod Assembly needs to be added as a line item on church budgets. It's not part of your pastor's continuing education. It's not part of professional expenses. Church treasurers, put it in your budget. It's important. Then we get to Sabbath and time off. Pastors, advocate for yourselves. Church council members here, pay attention. Pastors work on Sunday. It's in our guidelines that there is a Sabbath day to be taken at some other point of the week. Designate it, make it known to your congregation. I catch myself, our pastor is typically Monday, don't call her on Monday. My church business can wait until Tuesday. Holidays, we're recommending an increase from 8 recognized holidays to 10 each year. And we decided that holidays don't fit every congregation. So we identified a list of 15 potential holidays that could be taken, and that's on the next slide. Pastors, congregations, staff members should annually discuss this list of holidays. The ones with asterisks are oftentimes holidays that ministers end up serving. So those holidays should have an alternate day off or holiday time taken. And again, this is something that should be discussed annually by the congregation and the minister. Some ministers say, well, I said it's on page 2 of your worksheet for your salary. Oh, we don't look at that after the first year. Pull it out and look at it annually and discuss what are the right holidays for your congregation. And lay staff and ministers might have different holidays. They don't have to be the same for everybody. Then the lay staff guidelines. We focus mostly on the rostered minister, and the lay staff come along. One place in there, the other benefits. Congregations are encouraged to have their lay staff match their rostered ministers. And so we added to that document that congregations should consider personal days, parental leave, bereavement leave, military leave, should be part of the conversation. We also know a lot of church councils are very part-time and don't have a lot of time to spend on HR. So we're trying to make some supporting documents. We created a document called Understanding the Pastor's Compensation Package. We borrowed a large part of it from the Southeast Minnesota Synod. Some materials you can use within your council or with your congregation, talking about different areas of a pastor's compensation. And then the flow chart that I mentioned earlier about the interim minister wants and needs. It kind of takes you through, what do we want? Some congregations, we want a full-time ordained interim minister. Other congregations, we just want pulpit supply. And this will help kind of guide a congregation through that. So now we get to what everybody considers to be the big thing. What is our salary recommendation for 2025? We are recommending a 5% increase that will take rostered ministers newly ordained to $43,272. Salaried lay leaders to a base of $37,624. And hourly staff is actually a little bit over a 6.5% increase to $14 an hour, with a big asterisk behind that of that might not be the prevailing wage in your location. Your church might need to pay significantly more than that when McDonald's and Walmart are hiring for $18 and $20 an hour. So some people ask, why 5%? Pastor Aaron, if you skip ahead to the next one, the history of salary in South Dakota, in 2015, it was $34,362. What we are proposing would be, where are we at? $43,272. It seems like a big jump, but if you look at the first 6 or 7 years of that table, from 2015 to 2022, it was a total of just over a 9% increase in base pay, from $34,362 to $37,559. Our group, combined with the support to ministries, has made a commitment to raise up our beginning pastors to $47,000 plus or minus by the year 2027. And to do that, it will take roughly 5% a year to get to that level. I can tell you I serve on our local school board, and a starting teacher in Millbank will receive $50,700 next year. A 22-year-old with a BA. Now, they don't get housing. The pension isn't quite as good. There are other costs to hiring a pastor. Go check out the Understanding Your Pastor's Compensation packet. We need to compensate our leaders appropriately. This will go to address a portion of why don't more young adults become ministers. How do we compare in the upper Midwest? Because we're supposed to compare, right?
And be a
little bit better. So this year we're 7th on the list. Last year we were 9th. And the asterisks, I basically put us at a tie for 5th. that Nebraska, southeast Minnesota, us, and western Iowa are all basically the same. So we've gone from almost the bottom to solid middle, with room to move up. So in your assembly materials, you have both sets of guidelines and then a summary calling out these key areas of where we are proposing some changes. Our group will take recommendations. We have a list started for next year already of 4 or 5 different topics that we've been asked to look at. So we're more than just a salary table. We're any kind of HR, compensation, workplace issues that arise within a congregation with ministers and lay staff. Any questions? Thank you. And we will vote on these proposed guidelines tomorrow.
That's right. All right, before you go to the connection hubs, I can see there's tents already put up. The food trucks are gonna be there. Please stay for the evening. It'll be fun, okay? So, one of the most consistent feedbacks our Synod staff has received at any Synod Assembly is that you really enjoy when we call them learning labs, or now this year, connection hubs. We have 5 for you based on what you heard throughout the day. There's the Journeying Together in Christ project with Pastor Kari, which will be in the Celebrate Center, and that's here. Neighbors in Solidarity will be in the sanctuary, which is the traditional worship space on the other end. The Lutheran Play on Generosity, Kathy McHenry, is in the friendship room. Go buy the cookies, well, there are none anymore. And then to your right, not into the chapel, take a left, and to your right is the friendship room, or ask one of our friendly volunteers. Theological education is in the gathering space, that's where the round tables are, and the ELCA partnerships are in the chapel. Before I dismiss you, know that the labs are supposed to run until 5. If you have a good conversation going, the food trucks will be here for your entire evening. So will there be music, first by the Stilsons, but then by Peter with a concert right here. There will be food throughout. Please don't bring any food in here if you already did too late, but try not to. There will be water for sale and all other non-alcoholic beverages for the evening by JJ's. And if and when you go to get your food, not if, slash that, when you go to get your food, you remember your little tickets? That's what you need. It covers your meal up to $12 and a free dessert. That should be good. We have an anniversary, 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary, for Mark and Pat Myers from Trinity and Vermilion. Are they here? Would you please, there we go. Happy anniversary. If I could make them a promise, I would tell them, I'll promise you a free meal from a food truck with ice cream for dessert. Okay, Mother Lauren is ready to pray us out to go later eat, but first to your connection hubs.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in lockstep.
Got it.